It's our FYI Show, different theme. Matthew Teague-Miller with us. Usually you hear the Clinton Showboat theme when he's in the studio, but he's in our FYI Show this morning. We'll be talking 2019 summer theater season, but we're going to talk other theater things. We'll get to that later. Act 2 for the 2019 season. Matthew, talk about theater in general. I guess what's your view of the status of theater? First, theater, probably live theater, maybe is like many things up and down.
Mm-hmm, sure.
What's your thoughts on the status of theater, live theater across the country? Of course, we look to Broadway, we look to Chicago, we look to the West Coast overall.
Sure. Yeah, that's an interesting question that you didn't prepare me for.
We always try to do that.
You do. You like to spring things on me. Theater's one of those things that's like, I was an undergraduate studying musical theater 20 years ago. And at the time, it was a dying art form, right? It's been like the dying art form for as long as we can remember. But it keeps hanging on because I do think that there's something about the communal experience that people have when they go to a theater and see live actors standing on stage that people just have an emotional response to. And that emotional response can either be laughter, or it can also be like what happened in Cabaret, where it's tears. The history of theater, it all stems from religious rituals. And so there is sort of a religious kind of experience where you're sitting with a bunch of people facing the same direction, watching live people tell a story that is really transcendent and magical. And I don't think that's ever going to go anywhere. It's become, through the years with technology, it's become harder and harder to get people to leave their houses because they can sit on their couch and watch Netflix for what feels like free, or cable television or whatever else, play video games and not even get up off the couch and be entertained. You don't have to go out into the world anymore and spend money to be entertained, but there is something different about experiencing it with other people, with live people that are sort of face to face with you. There was an interesting New York Times New York Times editorial about it was about a year ago now, that according to some study that a university had done, when audiences watch a show together, watch a play together, it didn't happen in movies, it only happened with live performers, their heart rates started to synchronize, because there is something about being with other people and experiencing something together that is unifying, which is a really kind of amazing thing. So the status of theater, again, it's going to have ups and downs. We had, and every few years something's going to come out that revolutionizes it, like what Hamilton did a couple of years ago with Broadway. The next Hamilton's going to come in a few years, and it's going to have another sort of exciting landmark moment in the legacy of theater and musical theater. But it is. You're right. It's up and down, but it's never going to stop. People are always going to crave that experience.
You mentioned Hamilton. I think you watched Hamilton.
I saw it. Yeah.
What's your review of Hamilton? Was it as groundbreaking as people said? I know when many people say it may have been out there for a couple of years,
sure,
so people were maybe a little more familiar with it.
Yeah.
What's your review of Hamilton after watching it?
So I have two separate experiences. There is my experience watching it as a musical theater historian. I teach. I'm at a university. I teach musical theater history, right? So, as a musical theater creator, as a musical theater historian, I think it's an incredible moment. It's incredibly innovative. It's new. It's groundbreaking. It's exciting. It's important. It's the beginning of the next chapter of musical theater. All of those things are true. I think it's a tremendous production. Then there's the personal experience that I had watching the show, which was different. The show's not written for me. I don't listen to hip hop music. That's not what I put on the radio. That's not my cup of tea. I can appreciate the exciting landmark achievement that it is in terms of the legacy of musical theater, and appreciate a lot of the theatrical components that they used in an innovative way to tell the story. But for me, it's not like the musical that when I put on a musical on the radio, or on, to listen to a CD or Spotify or something. It's not necessarily the first choice of musicals because it's not my style of music. So, both of those things are simultaneously true. But on the other hand, my wife loves it. There are a couple songs I do get a little teary-eyed listening to the lullaby, especially now that Mattingly is born and I'm a dad. The moment of the lullaby kind of makes me teary every time. But my wife loves it. She could recite the show, but she's a different kind of audience than I am. I respond a little bit more to like the big. Pop/rock style musicals of the 80s, the Les Mises, the Phantom of the Operas, those mega musicals of the 80s that were sort of the paving. Those were the shows that got me into musical theater. So I'm always going to respond to those kinds of musicals a little bit more. And then the Jesus Christ Superstars that have a little bit more of a rock. Component to it, that's the kind of music that I listen to. That's the kind of music that I respond to and grew up listening to. So I'm always going to respond to those a little bit more. But I mean, I think it's a musical that anybody it's the thing about Hamilton that's been really amazing to watch as a musical theater practitioner is it's not just a landmark achievement for musical theater, but it's become this cultural icon of the time. I remember the moment that I thought, wow, musical theater is back as a centerpiece in the fabric of our culture when Lin-Manuel Miranda was hosting Saturday Night Live. I'm like, a musical theater guy hosting Saturday Night Live? That's amazing. And then it was like not long thereafter that the three women that played the Schuyler sisters were singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And I'm like, wow, that does not happen for musical theater very often. I mean, the Super Bowl is, Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Whitney Houston, those kinds of huge pop stars. When I saw that, I just thought, wow, this is something that everybody needs to experience, because in 25 years, if you look at a time capsule of this era of our culture, Hamilton's going to be in that time capsule. So it really is something that everybody needs to experience. Whether or not they like hip-hop music, I think, is secondary. I think they can appreciate it for the fine crafted piece of art that it is.
Does it tell a good story?
I think it does. I mean, it's that's the other thing that's so interesting about it is it's part of our history, right? It's part of our legacy as Americans. It's how the whole economic system was created, and it deals with the founding fathers and the beers that they had and talked about how they were going to stage a revolution. I mean, that's pretty cool. So, I mean, I think it's an important story, and I think it's creatively told, and all of those things make it kind of just this bizarre, perfect blend of all of these really important and exciting things. So, I mean, that's my take as a musical theater professor.
Professor, people see you here in Clinton as the Showboat Artistic Director.
Yeah.
You come and go.
I do.
Tell that what you. I think you got the job at the university. About the time you got the job as a Showboat Artistic Director.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tell about what is it like being? I know you traveled the country doing directing, acting, and all of a sudden now you're in one place, but you come to Clinton every summer.
Sure.
What's that like?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm a professor at a university.
Give a plug. You can tell them.
Yeah, California State University, Chico State. It's a university that's part of the California State University system, which is the largest public school system, higher education system in the country. There are 15, 20 California State universities. This one is in Chico, and it's if you were to start in Sacramento and drive towards the Oregon border, it's where you'd stop for gas. It's like along that route, so it's north. It's actually real close to where those Redding fires are right now. In fact, from what I hear, the air quality right now in Chico is kind of rough because all of that smoke is blowing over. But that's the general area that it is. And it's a liberal arts school, and we've got a degree in musical theater and a degree in theater, and I teach classes in both of those things, as well as some general ed classes in theater. And I mean, I'm a professor. It's and with the history of Mount St. Clair and Ashford, people in this community are no stranger to what that lifestyle is like. I teach 3 or 4 classes a semester. I direct a show usually each semester. This past semester I didn't, because that's when Mattingly was born, so I didn't direct that semester. But my graduate degree is in directing, so I teach directing classes and I direct musicals. My undergraduate degree is in musical theater, so I teach a lot of musical theater classes. And then I'll teach, depending upon the needs of the department, one semester I'll teach the acting for non-majors class, or I'll teach the general ed sort of intro to theater class that, where I have baseball players sitting in the back that are just taking the class because they need an arts requirement. But then I've got really focused, really excited, hungry musical theater and theater majors that are, trying to soak up as much information about the art as they can. Like I said, I teach a musical theater history class every other year. That's life. Jamie and I own a house, and it's California, so it's really, really expensive and not very big. But it's a neat little town. It's a granola sort of town with redwoods all over the place, and we like it.
Before we run out of time, we better get to 2019.
Yeah.
You like themes.
I do.
You like themes.
Yeah.
Well, give it away. British invasion. How did you come up with that?
To be honest with you, the British invasion theme, which is the 2019 theme, it really is a sort of a follow-up to the season of American Classics. Like the last couple years, I've toyed with this idea after we did this season of American Classics theme to follow it up with like the British theme, the sort of the counterpart to the season of American Classics. And every year we do a survey of the audience to see what they want to see. We give them 20, 30 shows, and depending upon how things do, that sort of helps pave the way. And there were a couple of shows that fit that theme that were in the top 5 on that survey, so it seemed like now was the time. We open. Also, the reason the British invasion is the theme is all 5 shows are either set in England or they are written by great British playwrights or musical theater composers. So they all have this sort of stiff upper lip vibe to them.
Run us through the season.
Yeah, so we open with a brand new show. It was on Broadway only a few years ago. It was the 2014 Tony Award winner for Best Musical. It's called Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. It's hilarious. It's about this young man who, his mom passes away. He's poor. His mom passes away, and he finds out that he's the 9th in line to this huge family fortune, very famous family in England. So he tries to befriend them, and they're like, oh no, we've disowned you and your mother because she married for love and not for fame and fortune. So we don't want anything to do with you. So he proceeds, okay, fine. He proceeds to murder all 8 people ahead of him in line for this family fortune. And he has to do it in creative and bizarre ways as to not arise suspicion. But the catch is all 8 of the people that he has to murder are played by the same character actor. So men, women, eccentric, beekeepers. It's just absolutely hilarious because you're seeing this one actor play these 8 different parts. Sort of in the way that the 39 Steps a couple years ago, there were a couple of character actors that played a bazillion roles. So that's the opening show. Second show of the season, classic, Noel Coward play. We've done it on the Showboat once before. Very, very funny comedy called Blythe Spirit. That's a show I've been wanting to direct for years. Old face, not old face, he's going to kill me for saying that. A familiar face to the Showboat, David Coolidge, who played opposite me in The Odd Couple a couple of years ago. He's going to be playing the lead. My wife Jamie is going to be playing one of his wives. The plot of the play is that this novelist needs a subject for his next book. He's run out of ideas, so he invites the wacky local gypsy woman that everyone thinks is crazy over for a dinner party, and he's just taking notes on all of the weird things that she does. But at that dinner party, she accidentally summons the spirit of his dead wife, who's a little high maintenance, who proceeds then to haunt him and his new wife, who can't see her. It's really, really funny. It's like this guy's trying to keep his life together as the 2 women are sort of going back and forth. It's really super fun. So third show of the season is a real favorite, old familiar face to the Showboat too. It's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. It's the third highest selling show we've ever done. It's the 15th highest selling show we've ever done, but it's been 10 years since we've done it, so we're bringing it back. We're gonna run it for 3 weeks because of how popular it is. We've already added Saturday matinees to all 3 weekends. In fact, we're opening on a Saturday matinee because it's just after 4th of July, so we needed to open on Saturday. Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's high energy, colorful, fun. It's fun for the whole family. It's going to feature a lot of local talent because it does incorporate a kids chorus into the show. Again, fun for the whole family. People aren't going to want to miss it. It alone is one that I think people are going to want to buy season tickets for just because it's such a fun, high energy show. Fourth show of the season, something a little bit different. The Who's Tommy. So Tommy, 50 years ago, 1969, The Who came out with this concept album with this, interesting little wacky story in 1969. Great music, features songs like Pinball Wizard, Amazing Journey, The Acid Queen, and it was adapted to the stage in the 90s by some really innovative theater people at the La Jolla Playhouse. It transferred to Broadway. It was a huge hit. One of the cool things about our production, next year marks the 50th anniversary of the original album, and The Who, because of that, is being kind of stingy about, I shouldn't say stingy, they're being selective about who they're giving the rights to. They've only awarded 4 professional theater companies the rights to do the show in honor of the 50th anniversary next year, and we're one of them. So it's incredible music. It was a very influential musical for me when I was just getting into theater. It's a show I've always wanted to direct. People aren't going to want to miss it. Like I said, it's just song after song after song that is catchy and memorable, and it's The Who. So I mean, it's out there, but it's pretty cool. Then the 5th show of the season is a music review called Shout, and it is really a celebration of the 60s mod British singers songs like Wishin' and Hopin', Shout, Downtown, Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever. It's like the hit list of songs from that era it's like one after another. It's 5 women singing all of these songs. These boots are made for walking, that people are going to have a hard time not singing along. It's going to be a huge hit for us, and we're super excited about it.
You mentioned we got a couple minutes, getting royalties to all these shows. How does that work
Sure.
quickly? You must have some pull.
I don't know that I have pull, but I mean, the Showboat has gotten a reputation. We've gotten a lot of premieres in the last couple of years. There are about 4 or 5 major companies that handle the royalties, the performance rights to perform these different shows, and we have different relationships with all of them. And depending upon the composer, there's a company called Music Theater International. There's a company called the Rodgers and Hammerstein Organization. Guess who they handle? There's Tams Whitmark. There's a bunch of different companies, and you just contact them. You ask if a certain show is available, and every year there are shows that I investigate that aren't available. Chicago had started to do really well on our season survey. I reached out. Chicago's not available because the Broadway National Tour is going to be in the area at some point. But in the area can mean anything from like an hour to 4 hours away. So, every year it's sort of a puzzle and a challenge, but it's a little bit of a negotiation, and again, with Tommy, I had to ask Music Theater International if the rights were available. They literally called The Who and Pete Townsend, and they're like, "Can this company do it?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know," and then he gave it to us. So sometimes there are extra steps like that with some of the more selective titles.
We talked earlier about the status of theater. Obviously, you've gotten some shows here. I think you mentioned, we've talked before, this next season will be the 30th year.
Yeah.
And obviously there's theaters around the country. What makes Clinton able to do this? And we hear from some of the young folks every year about how great their experience is.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Dave. It's amazing that a vibrant, high-end professional theater company is able to operate in a 215-seat, 82-year-old riverboat in a small Iowa river city. And the reason that we're able to is because the generosity of this community and the way that they love the Showboat. Half of our revenue to pay the bills, half of our income comes from ticket sales, but the other half comes from donations and sponsorships that people just give us money because they want us to exist, because they love us. Without that community support, we would not operate at the level that we do. The talent that we get both on stage and as designers, all of those people are paid. And we always joke about, well, they're not paid that much, because it is theater, it is an art, but they are paid, and it is expensive. Next year, we're going to have a $91,000 payroll for all of the people that work on the boat. And a lot of that is covered by ticket sales. But if it wasn't for people just cutting checks so that we survive, we wouldn't survive. And so that really can't go, that can't be understated, the importance of that support.
You go back 4 years quickly. You got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
A minute and a half.
Okay.
What made you take the job and keep coming back?
Well,
you came in, and again, every time it's, Timberlake just hired a new artistic director.
Right.
And they had a lot of applicants. What attracted you here?
It was my dream to run a professional theater company, and the season that the Showboat was looking for a new artistic director, I was directing over at Timberlake because one of my good friends was the former artistic director. It got me the job. What made me take the job was the fact that it was my dream to run a professional theater company, and frankly, it didn't matter where it was going to be. But what keeps me coming back is what my team and I have been able to accomplish on this little stage. The love that we feel from the support, the handshakes that I get at the back door of the boat when people leave every night, the smiles that I see when they leave shows like Oliver, and the reverent silence that I experience along with them when they walk out of shows like Jesus Christ Superstar and Cabaret. People love the boat, and that is what keeps me coming back, because it is a huge commitment. I live in California 9 months of the year,
And once again, British Invasion. They can, if they want to check. We ran down the schedule, talked about it quickly.
Season tickets are available now on the website or through the box office. That's the only way to get tickets now. Individual tickets won't go on sale till next May, but as a season ticket holder, you get all 5 shows, and then you get to pick your seats before the general public does. So that's really the only way to get your tickets between now and the middle of next May.
And you'll be in next Thursday to talk about
Tuesdays with Maury.
Tuesdays with Maury.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot. Will we count on that next year?
Can we?
The interviews coming in on
Oh, yeah, we'll be here for sure. So are you kidding? It's the highlight of my summer. This is another reason I keep coming back.
All right. Matthew Teague-Miller with us on our FYI show. Thanks for coming in today, talking about 2019 and theater in general.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.